I started out teaching in this district, which is kind of neat because you know, to be able to actually start your career, professional career as a teacher and then work yourself up is, I think, kind of a neat thing. My parents had both been teachers, and I had, you know, my great-grandfather was a teacher, my grandmother was a teacher, you know, so it just was part of the family tradition. I always said there's two traditions in the Adkins family, military and education, and I've been able to do both. When I graduated from the University of Akron in the late 80s, there were really almost no teaching jobs available. I almost gave up on the profession. My dad suggested, well, why don't we try Florida out? Because, you know, we hear there's a lot down there. So we did. He and I came to Florida, made a 2-week journey down here, and we had some interviews set up, and the rest is history. The first official job offer I received was from Pine Island Middle. It was difficult, that first few weeks of really learning the craft of teaching, and I had a difficult group of kids, but gradually when I started really fall in love with teaching and with those kids and see those little eyes light up when they would get something, get excited about science, that's when I knew this is something that I really feel good about, I really feel passionate about. I was at Gulf Middle School as a teacher for about 4 years, and then I became the assistant principal. That's where I really learned about site-based decision making.
One of our assistant principals got a promotion, going to a different school, and we had site-based decision making after school. Well, I couldn't be to the meeting, so I happened to get to school at the same time Greg gets to school. And I didn't know what happened at the meeting before, and I said, hey Greg, who's our new assistant principal? And he said, you are, Andy. And I was like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. Never miss a site-based decision-making meeting again.
I was an assistant principal at Dunbar Middle School, and I was transitioning out to become principal at Tice Elementary School. And ironically, Dr. Adkins, who was already assistant principal at Gulf Middle, and made the decision he was going to want to expand himself and applied to replace me.
There were some real challenges at that school when I took over. I was able to work with that group of people, outstanding staff. We all came together. We were an underselected school there for a while, and by the time I left, we were over-selected with a waiting list, and we had achieved our A. I enjoyed the challenge of human resources. That was really something that negotiating and working with the unions and dealing with all the things that HR does, recruiting and retention, so I really enjoyed that job. But then, you know, after 10 years, it was nice to get a break and go supervise principals in schools.
He really respected principals, so I just feel like he was, and if you watch him, he also would always bring it back to kids.
As I was aspiring to become an assistant principal, every time he did something new, he would involve me so I could become part of the process. And he actually said to me, he goes, you really should hurry up and get this degree so that you can become an assistant principal. And so I believe he's very, very instrumental in me becoming a school administrator.
To see them be successful, that's really cool, is to wow, you know, I had a part of somebody, you know, being in that job, and now here they are successful. And even some of the ones that were kids that when I was a principal or a teacher at Paul Lawrence Dunbar Middle School or Gulf Middle or Pine Island that have moved up and taken positions, including a county commissioner.
The first time I ever met Greg Adkins, Dr. Adkins, was in 7th grade. I was a student of his at Gulf Middle School, and I remember his was the cool science class. He's one of the many teachers here in Lee County that poured into my life and helped me become the adult that I am today. And it's so amazing to work with him now as a leader in the community to try and make this a better place for the next generation.
Community partnerships and engaging parents, so we fulfill our vision of being a world.
Did you ever think you would be superintendent?
No. You know, but what's interesting is that when I was a first-year principal, my boss at the time, Herb Wiseman, who was director of secondary education, he came up to me in a meeting, and the superintendent was talking to all of us as middle school principals, and he leaned over and he said, you ought to go for that guy's job. And I'm like, what? Because I was a first-year principal. He goes, you should do that job someday. I thought, I didn't think anything of it, but reflecting back on it, what did he see in me at that time? I have no idea, but yeah, it's kind of funny. Here I am.
I noticed the important thing in Greg to start with. He's made for education. He loves education. He loves kids. He wants to see them be successful. That makes me proud of Greg Adkins.
What's your favorite thing about being superintendent?
The people. To me, it's all the people you meet. There's a lot of wonderful people in this community that are really dedicated to Lee County and want to do everything they can to help our kids. Like the wonderful relationships we've been able to make with the foundation. I mean, there's some real business and community leaders that really care about this district.
One of the primary things that we want to do is engage the community, and specifically the business community, in what's going on in our public school system here in Lee County. And Dr. Adkins jumped right on board with us. He's promoted us to other businesses. He's gone with me to talk about what the foundation does. He's participated in a lot of our programs.
I really am proud of what we've been able to do in this school district. I think we have certainly achieved new levels when it comes to whether it's our graduation rate or our achievement level. I think being able to get to where we have no D or F schools is quite an accomplishment. I really am anxious to see expansion of our career and tech academies.
Greg and I had bus ramp duty at Gulf Middle School. And bus ramp duty's a lot like the CIA. You know you need it, but you don't want to tell anybody what's going on there. So Greg and I have secrets on each other forever. Whatever is said or done on the bus ramp stays on the bus ramps.
He and I were doing bus ramp duty, and we saw these kids dragging a trash can onto campus, and and they come up to us and like, what in the world is in a trash can? It was the biggest rattlesnake.
A few snakes, I think, and of course I'm thinking, this is a really bad idea. And of course, Greg's some environmental guy who thinks, oh, this is this kind of snake or that kind of snake, and Greg thinks it's part of the natural cycle of the earth. And I'm thinking, this is out of the Garden of Eden. It's a bad thing.
They had killed it now, middle school kids. Biggest rattlesnake I've ever seen in my life. I mean, the thing was as big around as my arm, and they'd seen it going to school and decided, like middle school boys do, they're going to mess with the rattlesnake, which I do not recommend.
After I shriek and cry and tears are coming from my eyes after looking at this snake, Greg saves us all.
We are conducting a due process hearing. So we're sitting there, the hearing is over, Dr. Adkins escorts the family out, and he came back to the conference room and he's kind of like, why are you still sitting here? I'm like, Dr. Adkins, I have a little problem. He's like, what is it? I said, I'm in labor. He's like, now? I'm like, right now. So at that point, Dr. Adkins put all the wheels in motion to get me to the hospital where I delivered my first child.
Anybody knows me knows I love Krispy Kreme. So we went to the Krispy Kreme because he had never had one. And he became a little disenchanted because he felt like the servers there they gave me more attention, so he felt like he was left out. And what I told him, he just wasn't a true Krispy Kreme connoisseur, and they sensed it.
We would play basketball on Tuesdays after school, and as great a public servant as Greg is, he's an awful basketball player. He's just awful. He was guarding me. First time I met him, he was guarding me. And I thought it was like WWE. I mean, I've never been so sore or bloodied or bruised in my life. And I thought, Greg, what are you doing? He said, well, I'm a wrestler. I'm not a basketball player.
His contribution to this district is immeasurable. It will go on forever. I think that a lot of the things that he has put into place will be sustained over the years. And obviously we wish him the best in wherever he goes, and hopefully comes time for him to volunteer again. I know a great not-for-profit for him to volunteer at.
He knew what he had to do to be successful. And I knew he knew that before he got into it, really.
Dr. Greg Adkins was my teacher in 7th grade while I attended Gulf Middle School. He learned how to motivate students well, and he even motivated me to win an award when I was at the science fair. Thank you very much, Greg Adkins, for all you've done. Congratulations and good luck to you.
Dr. Adkins, I wouldn't be the person that I am today if it weren't for teachers like you, people like you who cared about making the next generation better than the ones that had come before. And so thank you for pouring into my life, thank you for pouring into countless students' lives, and thank you for leaving Lee County School District better than you found it.
He was a great leader, and thank you so much for developing me, and best of luck in your endeavors, and we're going to miss you.
What's next for Dr. Adkins?
I don't know. I think what's next is spending more time with family, doing some traveling. I've got a farm I enjoy, so that's something that I love being part of right now. So those are the things, and then we'll see. Stay tuned, we'll see.